So in this video, I want to look at units of time. Now, with units of time, we're not going to be splitting this up into metric and imperial, thankfully. And again, I'm not going to be going through all of the possible units of time because there are many that I'm not going to look at. But let's start at the smallest that I am going to look at, and that's a second. Okay, and you might be thinking, well, that's not particularly small, but because you can go into things like milliseconds, which is a thousandth of a second, and nanoseconds, which is a billionth of a second, but we're not going to go there, okay? So let's just keep it nice and straightforward. Seconds to start off with, and then of course the next stage up we will have minutes. So we've got a second, we've got a minute, then we would have an hour. Okay, then we would go up into days. Then a week. Then we could go to fortnight. Then a month. Year. Decade. Century. Millennium. Okay, so all of these I would expect you to know what they are and how to convert from each one to each one, okay, essentially. So of course we recognise that there should be a 60 seconds in a minute, so 60 seconds equals 1 minute. Of course, you can abbreviate this to SECMIN. Hour is sometimes abbreviated HR, but I'll write them out like this. So 60 seconds in a minute, of course, and then there are 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, then we've got 24 hours in a day. And 7 days in a week. Now, for fortnight, often thought of as 2 weeks. So 2 weeks is a fortnight. Now, month, this one is a little tricky because each month that we have there's not a uniform number of days in a month, but it is well worth knowing how many days there are in each of those months. So we have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November and December. Okay, now how do you remember how many days there are? So I remember it by the rhyme. 30 days hath September, April, June and November. All the rest have 31 except February alone. So all the rest have 31, except February alone, which has 28 days clear and 29 days each leap year. Okay, so 29 days when it's a leap year. So that is a multiple of 4 from 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020. So our next one, based on this video, is 2024. So next year, February will have 29 days. So we'll skip over how many days there are in each month because we've got it there. But then we've got the 12 months in a year. So 12 months make up the year. There are 10 years in a decade. There are 100 years in a century. Century. And there's 1,000 years in a millennium. Okay, so you should really be aware of all of these words in dealing with problems. I can't imagine that millennium or century or decade, for that matter, are probably going to come up that much in a GCSE maths exam. But it is well worth knowing these. You should really know them outside of GCSE maths, of course. But also remembering how many days there are in each month, either by remembering it, like being able to write it out just by memory, or probably more useful is just remembering the rhyme.